And then there are times when a piece progresses much slower than I expected it to. And that can be discouraging, but it can also just be seen as something normal. And by now, I know that this is normal. I know that there are days where I will practice with all my heart. And at the end of the day, I'm going to think to myself, I didn't make any real tangible progress today. Hi everyone, this is Danai, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a subject that I think is something that we have all encountered at some point in our journey of learning an instrument, of playing piano, or even in other fields in life. And I will be talking about how to get yourself out of a slump, or very concretely speaking, in this case, how to get yourself out of a practice slump. So if you're interested in hearing my thoughts, then keep on watching. So as I already said in my introduction, obviously a practice slump is something that we have all encountered. Certainly any professional musician has encountered many practice slumps, and it is definitely a myth if you believe that professional musicians just don't encounter practice slumps, that we just love to practice every single day. That is not true. Of course, practice slumps are part of the job and part of what we experience, and it is even, I would say, important to experience them and to find strategies to overcome them. My very first tip to overcome a creative slump or a practice slump is to set a time limit. Especially when you're very overwhelmed and there's a lot that you need to do, sometimes this can result in just simply not doing anything and not even finding the energy or the will to tackle the practice. So setting a time limit can be very effective. That way you already limit the amount of practice time that you have, which makes it so much easier. Let's say you set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes. Sit down and practice those 10 minutes with incredible focus and with your full concentration, because 10 minutes is not that much. If you have more time, you can also do 15 or 20 minutes. And once you've practiced those 20 minutes, I assure you that you will have progressed a lot, because you will have given it your all, because it's just such a short amount of time. And sometimes you might even continue practicing after the timer goes off. The important thing is to give it your best shot when you're practicing under that time limit. So give those 10 minutes your best shot, because that will help you get away from all the distractions and actually increase your focus. To me, putting a time limit on the practice time has very often taken away the dread of practicing, or the dread of having to tackle that huge mountain of work in front of me, and has made things seem way more manageable. My second tip is to focus on the fun, especially if you are having a practice slump because there's a lot of uncomfortable practice that is coming your way, and maybe you might not really be in the mood to practice the things that you are supposed to practice. Simply go ahead and practice something that you love, something that you enjoy, something that might not be effective, something that might not be important in order to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve right now, but it is fun. That will remind you of the actual reason why you're making music, because it is fun, because it is enjoyable. Try practicing something for pure enjoyment and not because you actually have to practice it. My third tip is a very important one. I feel that out of all the tips, this is also the most self-explanatory one, and it is to practice mindfully. Don't just sit at the piano and practice with your mind wandering, being somewhere else, or while being annoyed, maybe. Really try to practice mindfully. So, for example, practicing mindfully also involves taking breaks. If you feel like you're not really progressing, like you're stagnating, then just take a 5-minute break. Think about what you were doing, think about the mistakes, think about what's stopping you, and then go ahead and practice another 10 to 15 minutes. Then take another short break and assess what you just did. Reflecting on your improvements and on your mistakes is also a really great way to relieve stress, and it really keeps you from hating what you actually love doing. My fourth tip is to remind yourself of the why. Why are you actually playing piano or the instrument that you're practicing at that point in life? Why are you performing the task that you are performing? Yes, it might be annoying. Yes, it might be difficult right now. There might be hardships involved, but what is the bigger picture here? Are you doing it because you love playing music? Are you doing it because you're working towards a goal, for example, an exam, a competition, a concert? What is the why that is justifying the practice session that is about to begin? Sometimes reminding ourselves of the why really makes the what seem much easier. Try to focus on what you stand to gain from it, on the benefits, on the positive results that will follow. And in that way, the hardships and the difficulties of the practice session ahead will suddenly feel much more tolerable. And my final tip that I want to mention is to accept the struggle. I know this might sound kind of negative in a way, but I actually mean it in the most positive way. Accept that the struggle is part of the process. As I mentioned in the beginning, practice slumps are a phenomenon that any musician and anyone that is doing something in an intense and serious way will encounter. It's something completely normal. It's part of the process. And learning an instrument, especially at a higher level, is not always easy. You will definitely encounter obstacles in your way. So simply accept the struggle and actually see it as something positive, because if you weren't in that practice slump, if you weren't in that difficult situation right now, it probably means that you're not progressing that much, that you're not taking it that seriously. The only reason you are there is because you have come to a certain point. And now take on that challenge and go over that next obstacle and reach the next point that is ahead on your path. Also, when I reflect on my practicing process, there always are times where a piece progresses incredibly well, and I'm always surprised myself, and I think, wow, that went quicker than I thought. And then there are times when a piece progresses much slower than I expected it to. And that can be discouraging, but it can also just be seen as something normal. And by now, I know that this is normal. I know that there are days where I will practice with all my heart, and at the end of the day, I'm going to think to myself, I didn't make any real tangible progress today. And I know that this is part of it. And I know that in 2 or 3 days' time, I will be rewarded for my efforts, because suddenly there will be a big jump and there will be a big chunk of progress that is going to happen. So keep that in mind, that sometimes it's a bit of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back situation, and that sometimes the progress is not exactly in relation to the effort you put in. Your brain might need a couple of more days to absorb everything and to put it into your subconscious. There can be many reasons for it. You might be tired. As I said, many reasons. So keep in mind, if something feels like it's not really giving you the rewards that you expected compared to the effort you have put in, don't be discouraged, especially with piano playing. This is something that can happen with a bit of a delay. It can come a bit later. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come at all. So in general, I would say to always try to have fun when practicing. Make your practice as fun as possible. Try to not see it as a chore. Try to see it as part of the fun process. I know that this is sometimes easier said than done, but I always remind myself that it is such a privilege that my job is to actually play the piano every day and to practice the piano every day, to make music, to improve my skills while making music. And the big end goal, which makes me so happy, is that I get to share this music with many people out there. And in my case, this is really what it is all about, to be able to share the messages that I feel are important to me and the emotions that I experience through music with the world and with everyone that comes to my concerts and that sits in the audience. And that to me is worth all the practice slumps in the world. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please leave it a like and subscribe to my channel. That would help me a lot. And I will see you again in my next video next week. Bye.